first, let me start off by saying this. I feel terrible for Odell Beckham Jr. You never, Rob, want to see any player get hurt. And on the second snap for the Browns yesterday, Baker Mayfield throws an interception. OBJ is trying to make the tackle and tears his ACL, out for the season. So you feel for him, one, because you don't want to see that happen to anybody. Two, because he is a legitimately great talent. And three, Rob, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. This is this is the worst injury.
This is where he is, though, now.
Right,
I agree with you. I mean, every time it's something.
Yep.
And it's not his fault, but guys get into that. He's not that guy that everybody wowed when he made that catch on Sunday Night Football, Chris. That was like, that could have been a decade ago, for all I know.
Right.
That's how long it's been.
That could end up, Rob, being the signature play of his career. And it was a great play, but it happened so early. The game was, it was just a regular season game, right? Nothing.
But it put him on the map for everybody.
Right.
Everybody saw that catch.
But it would be a shame if he does nothing greater. I mean, you're not going to make a greater individual catch, but you know what I mean? Big catches, big games, things like that.
Like a big catch in the Super Bowl or a playoff win, a late second touchdown. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do, and you're right. It doesn't look like he's in that position, and he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And of course, I was heartbroken because I had a big bet in Vegas, a props bet.
Because he ended up with 3 TDs?
No, he had 4 because he had the 50-yard run.
So he does have 4, but you had what? More?
6.
He's
got to get 5.5. 5.5.
Okay.
He needed 5.5.
Wow. He would have got it. He would have gotten it. Yeah, he would have gotten it. Well, how much I'm not going to ask you how much.
A couple $100 I'm out. A couple $100. So
see, man, you could have just gave me some Jordans. Come on, dang. And next time you want to put a bet up like that, ask me for a Jordan bet.
But that wouldn't feel right.
But a lopsided one.
That wouldn't feel right for you. That wouldn't feel right. I don't.
If you just bought me some Jordans?
Yeah, that would be like.
No, it would feel right. It would feel right. Trust me. No, I'm gonna say this though, Rob. I'm not calling this a blessing in disguise at all. And I will say this. I will say this. I believe, that certainly hadn't worked out, right? The Cowboys. No. I'm going to say this. I definitely think Odell Beckham Jr. is the best wide receiver on the Browns. I don't think there's any question about that. That's my premise, or I want to throw that caveat out there. However, Rob, I do think Baker Mayfield may be better off without OBJ. Here's why. OBJ is such a strong personality. He's such a guy that all the locker room looks up to. All the guys that want to be cool, want to be part of the in crowd, they look up to OBJ, including Baker Mayfield. And I think that Baker looks for OBJ too much. I think he feels kind of pressure, to get him the ball, or maybe it's your good friend or a guy you kind of look up to, or you want to impress, you want to keep happy. So you look for him rather than just throwing the ball to the man who's open. And there's numbers to back this up, Rob. Here it is. First of all, just on Sunday, all right, when he threw an interception when OBJ's in there, that's not OBJ's fault at all. But after OBJ is gone, and now it's like, hit the open man. Go through your progressions. Whoever's open, get him the ball. He throws 5 touchdowns to a bunch of, most of them nondescript receivers that many people have never heard of. But beyond that, we know he rolls against the Bengals, all right? But he's, in his career, he's played 6 games against the Bengals. When OBJ is not available in those games against the Bengals, here's his numbers, right? He completes 75% of his passes. That's 90 attempts. So it's not a small sample. He's attempted 90 without OBJ, 75 with OBJ against the Bengals. So completion 75% without OBJ for 839 yards, 12 touchdowns, Rob, and 0 picks. Against the Bengals, when OBJ plays, he completes 52% of his passes for 600 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Last thing is this, last numbers that back this up. His passer rating the last 2 years with OBJ on the field, 79.6. With OBJ off the field, Rob, 116.6. Again, not saying OBJ's not their best receiver, all that stuff. He is. But I think Baker, for the reasons I laid out, the mental reasons, the psychological reasons, I think he may be better off without OBJ, and we'll get to see it over the rest of the year.
Well, that'll tell you that he's not really a great quarterback then, because most quarterbacks excel when they have an exceptional talent. Something
right.
doesn't.
And you got to be strong enough to tell the dude, look,
Chris,
you weren't open or whatever.
You brought it up earlier. When did Tom Brady have his greatest season as a quarterback? When he had a Hall of Fame all-time great wide receiver. Am I right?
Right.
That didn't stop Tom Brady from doing what he did. And I'm just saying, from Baker's standpoint, the numbers you read, that tells me about Baker more so in not being able to utilize him the right way. And because I understand your point about making sure you get the ball to him, and how can you not look his way all the time, right? He's a dynamic player. That didn't stop Tom Brady from looking Randy Moss's way and putting up ungodly numbers, because that's what he did.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And what it speaks to, Rob, is as the quarterback, you've got to have the strong enough personality where you're not moved by your diva receivers, right? You're not moved by the guy that wants the ball all the time, because guess what? They all want it all the time.
Everybody out there. Right? Everybody.
You got to be able to tell. You have to be enough of a leader to be like, look, man, you weren't open, or I didn't get it. So-and-so was open, or I mean, whatever you got to say. But I just think that's been a problem for Baker.
And you know, it's funny because tomorrow, of course, is a Trash Talking Tuesday. And I did one for Deadspin because there's a lot of people out there, Chris, who are today, see, he is a franchise quarterback. Look at what he did. He got off to a rough start, and then he hit 22 out of 23 passes, 297 yards, 5 touchdowns. He was unbelievable. The only problem, and the reason I say you have to pump the brakes, is because of his history against the Bengals, which, Chris, for whatever reason, he has demolished them. 5-1 in 6 starts.
You know the reason.
Because their
the
defense
Bengals
is
suck.
Right, their defense.
Right?
But you see what I'm saying? Like, it was just 2 weeks ago we were questioning whether or not they should move on from him.
Right.
Am I right? Like, what happened? The Bengals happened.
Right. Exactly. Come on. Like, you're right. They're a horrible team. And let me say this quickly. Joe Burrow looks like the truth. I don't want to jump too quickly,
That's why but you know what?
Truth,
a lot of people were like, they didn't want to take him because he only had the 1 year and he flamed out at Ohio State. And he put up, Chris, the best statistical year for a quarterback in college football. Right. The Bengals would have been crazy to pass on him. I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
You don't, that's like, don't overthink it. Pick that guy. If it doesn't work out, that doesn't mean that you didn't make the right pick. He was the right pick.
They're going to be good, Rob. I mean, I know they're 1-5-1 right now. But when you have a quarterback that good, I think you're going to end up being a good team. I mean, look at all the best quarterbacks, Rob. The teams are pretty good. That's just how it works in this league. So unless they just build around him in absolutely idiotic fashion, the Bengals have a bright future. But let me get back to Baker. I think the rest of this year, you know, we've all in the past, every now and then there's the, you know, should they trade OBJ talk comes about, right? Look, the rest of this season, and I know, look, they're 5-2. I know they're thinking playoffs, and they should be. So they should be thinking playoffs. That's the number one priority, make the playoffs. However, you're also watching Baker and seeing what he does the rest of the year. And is my theory correct? Is he better without OBJ? Because, again, I agree with you. He's going to have to strengthen up mentally. You can't, because if it's not OBJ, you might get another receiver, right? Who's colorful, who's flamboyant, who's great,
who's
and
talented,
who always wants the football, right? So you got to learn how to deal with this. But, Rob, if let's say Baker plays well the rest of the season. Not, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers well, but, well. And they make the playoffs. Honestly, Rob, that's when you might want to move on from OBJ. Now, what are you going to get for him? That's kind of a big question, too. Because obviously
you
now
probably
he's
had
got
to
the
trade
injuries.
him when he had the 3 touchdowns right there.
Right.
The week after that.
You're not getting a lot for him.
You're not getting anything now at this point. I don't see I don't see why anybody would make a move at this point. Only because, Chris, not just the injury, but now his history is plagued by not being able to stay healthy.
Right. And I won't blame OBJ if Baker has a great season the rest of the way, but some people will. Other talent evaluators around the league might be like, it's a problematic personality, or our quarterback's not strong enough. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't want to deal with that, whatever it is. So we'll see, man, what the future holds for OBJ and what it holds for Baker Mayfield. All right.